We get started here. Everything works. Thanks for having me. I'm just going to give everybody kind of a quick update on happenings within internet infrastructure world here in New York, data center, internet exchanges, as it's kind of relevant to OpenIX. And being that we're in New York, I felt it appropriate. We'll kind of give you a little overview of the ecosystems here, who the major players are, and what's the big news that we've seen in 2018. Full disclosure, I'm not an analyst. In no way is this complete. If you want a complete report, you can go pay 451 or somebody 20 grand and get a complete report. Currently, so I'm the founder and president of NYNOG, day job, director of network strategy for Pilot Fiber, and former board member of OpenIX. So, New York metropolitan area, it's pretty big, right? 20 plus million in the New York metro area, 8 million plus in New York City alone, and that record population just got hit this year in around March or April. 50% bigger than the LA metro area and double the size of the Chicago metro area. If New York were a country, we would probably fall somewhere around 10th or 11th on the list of largest GDP, probably equal to around South Korea. So, quick overview of the actual ecosystem and who the players are here in the New York area. Fiber, we've got an abundant amount of fiber. Here's a bunch of the major players. What I do want to call out and ask is, does anybody know the outlier here, if you know what you need to do or what you need to have as far as licensing and permitting goes for running fiber in New York City? So who's the outlier on this list, or at least one of them? There's a couple, but you can check out the slides later. So you have to have a franchise permit to run fiber in the ECS conduit in New York City. Not all of these guys have it. There's probably about 7 or 8 who actually have it. Internet exchange points. So we've got your 4, DKIX, NYIX, Equinix, and Digital Realty. Interconnection platforms. These are kind of the guys that are your on-ramp to the cloud, providing transport connectivity, access to internet exchanges, private network interconnects through that platform, usually based on a SDN, if that's what you want to call it. And we've got 3 major ones here in New York. Everybody's kind of also doing their own thing when it comes to data center or carrier. We see PCCW in the game now. Digital Realty has their service exchange. Equinix has their cloud exchange. And then data centers. We've got a lot of unique data centers in the NYC metro area. One logo that might look interesting on this list, on the top right, that maybe people are familiar with as a commercial real estate landlord, property owner, but not familiar with as a data center owner. And we'll talk about them in a little bit as the slides go on. Cloud. So cloud, just a snippet. Like I said, this is not a complete view, but your major cloud players who have connectivity on-ramps, as well as some of the smaller guys who are actually all based in this area, but quite popular. DigitalOcean, headquartered in New York City. Packet, headquartered in New York City. Linode, headquartered in Philadelphia. All right, so on to the updates and developments. Data centers. We saw NYI, New York Internet, acquire the assets of Sirius Telecom at 60 Hudson. That's a couple suites on, I believe, the 12th floor there to expand their data center footprint in New York. Their other data center is down at 100 William, and then they've got another one in New Jersey. We saw CoreSite bring some additional square footage on space in their Secaucus facility. And Neutrality exited 325 Hudson Street. There's not much detail around this that's public. Going back to the Jamestown logo I saw or showed you before, they are one of the owners or majority owner of this building. So you can put 2 and 2 together there. All right, fiber. We saw Zenfi Networks and Cross River Fiber merge for a combined 700 route miles, 119 on-net buildings, and 47 co-location facilities across New York City, New Jersey Metro. We saw Extenet acquire Hudson Fiber Network. Has a large global footprint for lit services and some local fiber assets in North Jersey and Manhattan. On to submarine cables. We saw Aquacom's make a decision to land Havru AEC2 at NJFX down in Wall, New Jersey. Targeted RFS of Q4 2019, built by a consortium of Facebook, Google, Bulk Infrastructure, and Aquacom's 7,500 kilometer cable with an initial capacity of 108 terabits per second. More in the submarine cable news, we've got Clarion, who announced an NYNJ1 cable to bypass Manhattan. This will go out of 1025 Connect in Westbury, New York, in Long Island, to Raritan, New Jersey, with a dry segment down to Wall, New Jersey, at NJFX. On to internet exchange points. We've got DKIX, some significant news. They've outgrown their initial /24 and are renumbering to a /22. We're looking at about 197 connected networks and 366 gigabits per second peak traffic. Brings us to NYIX, and we can see here that DKIX has taken over as the largest internet exchange in New York by number of connected networks. NYIX did some hardware platform upgrades this year, 174 connected networks, 495 gigabits peak traffic. We also saw AM6 exit the market. AM6 was an early adopter and proponent of OpenIX. They shut down operations earlier this year and have completely exited New York. All right, so trends and themes. We still see networks continue to expand into New Jersey, specifically 165 Halsey in Newark and Equinix Secaucus. Connectivity is getting richer and those ecosystems are getting denser as time goes on. We see the hyperscalers, as you want to call them, have preferred locations of interconnect in Newark and move to Newark. We see that from Google, we see that from AWS. We also see a new AWS Direct Connect gateway opened up in 165 Halsey. And something else interesting, we see that Twitch has moved off other exchanges and is single-handedly on Equinix New York now. All right, so continued interconnect fragmentation. We still have 4 internet exchanges. We still have expensive carrier hotel riser costs, and we have walled gardens of the likes of Equinix and Digital Realty. Trends and themes, consolidation continues as usual and as expected within fiber and data center. And last but not least, the edge. The edge has come to Brooklyn. A couple shipping containers are there. I'm just kidding. The edge is not here. We are just quickly climbing to the peak of inflated expectations. Let's be calm, okay? And that is it. That is a quick update. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
Can you speak to capacity availability at 8th Avenue and Hudson Street?
At where? 60 Hudson?
At 8th Avenue and 60 Hudson Street?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think there's some wholesale space and floors coming online from Data Grid, I believe.
What about 8th Avenue? Is space still hard to get there?
I mean, you can get there. There's space. It's at a premium. I don't think it's smart to put any large size footprint in any of these data centers, and if you want a large size footprint, then you should go to New Jersey for a network pop. It's still a viable option, and there's still room to deploy your equipment in any of these facilities.
And then last one, we hear a lot about, bypassing New York City from a network perspective. Can you talk, is that a real trend that's going on? Is it predominantly due to the cost of putting your network facilities in the city as opposed to a fraction of the cost in Jersey? Or is it more, is there a technology reason or a business reason that you're saying?
I mean, so you've got a bunch of submarine cables landing in Long Island. Typically, that terrestrial fiber is all coming through Manhattan. So I think some guys saw a great idea, said, let's build a submarine cable or two, because there is another one that was announced last year that will be landing at NJFX, and I'm sure I see Felix back there. He's probably got plenty of more info if anybody wants to know about it. I think that's by Cross Lake Fiber. So you're going to see two bypass cables that are subsea cables. And I think it's just about the risk, the elevated risk that's in Manhattan. We saw plenty of outages with Sandy. Just a couple of months ago, we saw a construction outage take out a lot of fiber outside 111 8th Ave. So I think it's really about decreasing the risk, and people see that as a viable option. Whether it is, we'll see.
Do you know with AT&T selling off some of the assets here in Manhattan and Brookfield, has that done anything to the inventory here in New York City, or?
I haven't even heard anything about the AT&T building on 10th or 11th Avenue, wherever it is. Rob knows a little bit about that, though. But other than that, I haven't really heard much.
Hi, you mentioned some M&A in the fiber space. Is there much in the way of scale left in the New York City area? And then also with the integrations, any concerns about redundancy?
Yeah, I think there still is new developments going on. I won't go too in depth about it, but full disclosure, my day job is a company putting fiber in the street in New York. We are 4 years old. We have a franchise agreement, and we're building out New York City quickly. And for your second part, yeah, I mean, I think there is risk as consolidation occurs. These little guys, they do want to get bought by the big guys, right? They do build these fiber networks out to hope for Zayo to come along and acquire them. I think the popular trend right now, though, when you're looking for fiber is ABZ, anything but Zayo. So, we'll see these kind of themes continue, though. Sagi.
You mentioned the overhyped edge. What are your thoughts for actual use cases for edge? Do you think it's not something that's going to be needed now or in the future?
I think we're just super early, and it's just time, right? MEC and all the mobile technologies, it's still way too early. It's still all being worked on. You've got guys that are actually working on the real issue of getting to the towers and integrating with the mobile networks, but those mobile networks are still not redesigned, right? They're still working on that new architecture. And then you've got a whole bunch of other guys who jump on the buzz train and say they've got an edge data center because, in reality they do. If you've got a customer connecting to a service provider, it's an edge. So I think it's going to take a little while. And I think at that conference that Rob mentioned, EdgeCon, there was a good session with some investors and analysts that kind of, they went along the same route. It's way too early to really see a business case. Everybody else, like big guys, big money, is just kind of hanging out back, not really making any moves until something more fruitful actually occurs.
I have a question. The franchise situation, I know that a bunch of franchises are coming up for renewal. How is the political thing can affect the franchises going forward? Could they expire? Could a change in government affect it?
I don't work in telecom policy, so I can't really answer that, so no comment.
Thanks for coming in today. Can you give us, while you're up here, an update on pilot fiber and then also an update on NYNOG and how people can get involved?
Sure. So yeah, Pilot Fiber, for those that don't know about it, we are a business broadband internet company, started about 4.5 years ago here in New York. We run a GPON network. We've got about 500 buildings on net, also currently working on rolling out dark fiber to multiple data centers and carrier-neutral facilities here in New York, as well as a nationwide network where we offer transport services and IP. No contracts. That's really our biggest differentiator. You're not getting locked in. You can buy it. You don't like it, you can get rid of it. For NYNOG, yeah. So I mean, if anybody wants to join, go to a NYNOG, nynog.org. We do 4 events/meetups a year. Typically educational focused. Sagi, also call him out. He's on the board of NYNOG. Busy man. Yeah, and we've got a lot of great sponsors, and I think we're going into our 4th year now for NYNOG. Yeah, okay, so next one will be December 4th, will be a holiday or winter networking event, and we're doing that in conjunction with DKIX. So come on out, go on the website, get registered on the mailing list so you get the invite.
Good stuff. Any more questions?
I'm sure you have another question, don't you, Rob?
I'm questioned out on things that you will comment on, not non-publicly, so we're good.
Cool, thank you.